All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Semen Retention Talk. And I'm Johnathan White, and I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. How's everybody doing? How's everyone holding up during quarantine? Hope you guys are doing well. It hasn't really been that much different for me since I work at home. The only thing that's really changed for me is I can't go to the gym, which has been a pain in the ass, but I've had to rig up a home gym setup, right? Bodyweight workouts and some things like that. So it's all good. But anyways, today I'm going to be talking about, what am I talking about today? Improving your orgasmic potential. So specifically for men. So most men don't ever have much sexual energy built up in their bodies, basically. Most men have very weak orgasms, and they have no idea because it's the only thing they've ever really experienced. So the whole thing is that when a man is constantly ejaculating, he's not able to build up a true charge of sexual energy. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. So again, a man who's ejaculating every day, ejaculating every time he has sex, he's depleted of energy. He's deficient of energy. He doesn't have this charge of energy, which is required to get to these high levels of orgasm, these high states of energy flow and bliss. So obviously the first solution to this, or at least part of the solution, is to stop ejaculating regularly. Start to build up this sexual essence in your body. So semen retention is kind of the groundwork for improving your orgasmic capacity, improving your sexual capacity, and really your capacity to have a strong level of energy, masculine drive in your life as well. So you practice semen retention, you build up this energy, but that alone is not enough, right? It's only the first, it's kind of the foundations. Like, you need to stop the leak of your energy, which constantly ejaculation is. Then you need to start to open up a pathway in the body for that energy to flow. So really, you need to activate your human body. You need to get a fully activated human body. What does this mean? We are energetic beings. We have all these pathways, these electrical circuits in the body, this subtle life force. The Chinese call it qi, the Indians call it prana, many words for it, ki, the life force, right? When we were children, when we were young, we had very open, clear flows of energy in our body. That's why when you were a child, you felt so stoked on life. You felt so happy, so excited, so in the moment. Your body was wide open. Your energy was flowing effortlessly. There's no blockages. But as we start to experience stress, emotional traumas, things like that, you start to close down the flow of life force throughout your body. And this leads to, of course, your health declines, your energy levels decline, but especially your sexual capacity declines, especially for men. Women are very naturally multi-orgasmic. They naturally have full body orgasms because their sexual organs are inside of their body. So it's already kind of connected to their body. But for men, it's like our penis and our testicles are just kind of like out here. They almost feel like they're separate from us, right? So there's kind of this disconnect for men typically between the genitals and the rest of the body. So we always, we're conditioned to experience orgasms that are like our life force releasing out of us. They never really come into our body. So by activating these energy circuits in the body, there's many different ways to do this. My favorite method is through Qigong practices and internal meditation, but there's many methods. There's yogic practices, there's various lineages that teach these different methods of opening up the body, preparing it to handle energy. But I really like Qigong because it's a very gentle practice. It's very grounded. When you're doing some of these yogic practices are very forceful and they bring in too much fire energy and you can really overheat. I personally overheated myself doing a lot of Kundalini yoga and things like that. So that's, just personal preference. That's why I kind of stress the Taoist system, just because it works the best for me. But we all have our own methods, our own path to take. So anyway, that's the key, is you open up these energy channels in the body, you get this free flow of energy. That's kind of the next step. But then you need to kind of reprogram your sexual habits, especially for men. We almost all of us learn about sex through porn. We get in the habit of masturbating to porn. And again, we get ingrained in this habit of getting a little bit of arousal built up, but maximum tension, it's all centered in the genitals and there's nowhere for it to go. So we ejaculate it out. When you have, again, this pathway created to move the energy, connected to the organs, connected to the rest of the body, the microcosmic orbits, this main pathway circling around the body, you can start to program your sexual energy, your orgasms, to rise upward within the body, to literally, pulling that that orgasm internally. Let it reverberate around your orbit internally. And another thing to stress here is the excessive use of tension that, well, most men are very locked up with tension. That's why they can't handle a high charge of sexual energy. As soon as they feel aroused, they're like, no, I need to masturbate. I need to get this energy out of me. So when you open up your body, you can relax, you're grounded, you have a space to hold this sexual current and this powerful orgasmic energy, and then you can have sex and not ejaculate, still have orgasms, not ejaculate, because, when you become a master of your mind, master of your body-mind connection, then it's not an issue to bring this intense sexual energy throughout your body during sex. Controlling your ejaculation, that's one of the keys to experiencing full body orgasms, is to be able to move all of that tension that's accumulating in your genitals, bring it up throughout the body. You're dispersing it. And there's various ways to do that. The easiest way is to breathe deeply, breathe deep into your belly, expand your abdomen as you breathe. And that creates more space in your belly. It creates more space in the body to hold more pleasure and to hold higher levels of arousal without ejaculating. And this is how you start to get into these full body orgasms, these non-ejaculatory full body orgasms. There's a really great practice that is kind of a great tool if you're kind of beginning in this. It's called Kareza. And basically what this is it's approaching sexual stimulation from a different way, basically. Again, this porn conditioning, we often approach sex with like maximum stimulation, maximum force. Like I just need to, hump as hard as I can, as fast as I can. And, it feels good. But the problem is that if that's all you do, it generates a lot of tension, and it doesn't allow the arousal to build as much as the tension builds, the sexual tension that has to be released, right? So when you can slow down a little bit, take a breather here and there and let your body open up, then you can start to get this orgasm penetrating throughout the rest of the body and not just stuck in the penis. So you start to get these full body orgasmic states. So Kareza is a practice of basically using very, very slow stimulation, maximum mindfulness, breathing deep, focusing on keeping your body relaxed, stimulating very, very slowly and mindfully. And that's how a good method to start to learn to get into these deeper orgasmic states. And you can do this with yourself or with a partner. So, but just in, kind of sum up, improving your orgasmic capacity, first of all, as a man, you need to be able to go a certain period of time without ejaculating. Kareza is Karezza. So you need to go, a certain period of time without ejaculating. Start with at least a few days and build from there. And you'll notice, I first noticed when I first went like, a week without ejaculating, it was like night and day. My energy levels, my desire, sexual experiences, things like that, just it amplifies tremendously. But then you need to open up your body, be able to move this sexual energy throughout your body, or else it just gets stuck in your genitals, and it's not that enjoyable. So you keep that sexual energy moving, and you have the skill to bring the orgasmic energy upward in your body. It's a completely different experience than this, 10-second ejaculatory orgasm that leaves you depleted. You feel great, you feel energized, you feel inspired, you feel, words can't describe it. It's just a completely incredible, expansive experience. It's the difference between, releasing your energy through sex versus building up your energy and storing it in your body. And then you have this massive charge of energy driving you through your life. It's a completely different approach to sex, ejaculating frequently, releasing your energy versus retaining your energy, building it up, circulating it between yourself and your partner, and storing it in your body. So there's some questions being asked. Feel free to send any questions, guys. I always like to do a little Q&A on these. Okay, even for men over 45, I'm not sure what you were referring to, but yeah, men of all ages can do this. In fact, the older you get as a man, the more important it is to regulate your ejaculations, because it becomes more draining on your body. As you age, the body has a harder time recovering from ejaculation. Some older men, it takes them days to recover from ejaculation. So it's important. Okay, I got really good at edging around 90%. Then if I cross over, my PC muscle will block anything from coming out. It's not a full orgasm, but I do lose sexual energy. Am I still retaining even if I do this? I think. I mean, you're still losing some energy if you're having like a genital orgasm, but you're holding it back. It's possible you're having a retrograde ejaculation where it goes into the bladder, but if you're losing sexual energy, which you almost always do in a peak orgasm, then I mean, are you technically retaining your semen? I guess only you can say that. But if you're losing energy, then it's not really optimal for you. How long did it take me to perfect semen retention? I mean, is it ever perfected? I don't know. It's all a process, right? It's been a constant growth, a constant process of learning, discovering new things about my body. But I would say overall, it started becoming a sustainable lifestyle after about 6 to 7 months for me. It was really once I started practicing qigong and Taoist practices, because I don't think that just doing semen retention is a very good idea for most guys. Like just holding back your ejaculation, everything else you're doing in life is normal. If you don't have some sort of internal practice, then there's all kinds of issues you can run into, stagnance, feeling angry, feeling irritable, blue balls, things like this. So when you have an internal practice, you're circulating the energy. It becomes effortless to practice semen retention. That's been my experience. And that's why, my 6-week course, I focus on so many different practices, setting foundations for safely harnessing the sexual energy. All right, what other questions we have here? What are the best ways to cure premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction? Well, these are two different issues. We'll start with premature ejaculation. The main issue with premature ejaculation is too much tension in the pelvic floor. I've talked about this a lot. Basically, most men have an involuntary response where when their penis is stimulated, they squeeze their pelvic floor in response to that. And this is a very poor habit, because when you squeeze your pelvic floor during sex, it makes your penis more sensitive and activates your sympathetic nervous system. Basically, it means you ejaculate much quicker. So one of the keys to overcoming premature ejaculation is to be able to keep your pelvic floor relaxed. And this is often very related to like stress, hypertension, tension patterns in your body and your life. So like doing meditation, doing some yoga, some qigong, something, but especially working on your pelvic floor, relaxing it. Reverse Kegels is a great way to reverse that issue. I go into depth into my course on how to keep your pelvic floor relaxed during sex, but those are some basic things. So I would say that's the biggest cause of premature ejaculation, which a lot of it just comes from your masturbation habits. Like when I was discovering this myself, this pelvic floor tension, I noticed that when I was, masturbating or having sex, I just had this tendency to squeeze it, just because it made my penis feel more sensitive. It made it feel better, but it brought me to ejaculation quicker. So that was kind of a big breakthrough for me. Then erectile dysfunction. There's many causes to it. It's more often a psychological issue, like maybe you're not really feeling connected or with your partner. Maybe you don't really trust them enough to have sex with them or something like that. That's a big thing for guys, where they're just trying to hook up because they feel like it's something they should do, but they don't actually feel an emotional connection. So their body kind of responds in that way. Also, just performance anxiety is a big thing, and that can cause premature ejaculation as well. Just stress, not getting enough rest, you're depleted, you're not eating healthy, you're not, hydrated, things like that. There's many causes to erectile dysfunction. Okay, are there any cons to holding your semen and letting it build up? So is there any potential issues with it? Yes, there are some. So I kind of talked about this a little bit ago, how I don't think it's a very good idea to do semen retention if you don't have an internal practice to keep that energy flowing throughout the body or transforming the energy. Because what happens when you practice semen retention? You're just building up energy, and so it's like you're damming a river, right? Well, if you don't have another pathway for that water to flow, it's just gonna become stagnant, become nasty. That energy, right? You don't want stagnant sexual energy. It's not a pleasant thing. A lot of guys get very irritable. They get very angry. Or they just feel stuck in their life. They have blue balls. So it's extreme. So this is really the drawbacks to potentially practicing semen retention, is if you don't have a practice to refine, to transmute that energy, then you just have more energy feeding into whatever habits you already have. And this can cause issues for you. So that's why in my course, I spend the first 3 weeks clearing blockages in the body, clearing negative emotions, opening up the pathways to safely handle this, current of amplified sexual energy. If I masturbate to porn but ejaculate, do I lose energy? definitely. Oh, okay. If you masturbate to porn but don't ejaculate, do you lose energy? Yes, you still lose energy. Porn addiction is such a major, major issue. When you look at porn, all kinds of, just on the physical level, your dopamine levels, it throws them completely out of whack. You'll notice that like the rest of the day, you're still like kind of repeating that porn image in your head. So you're still thinking about it. So you're still kind of glued to that image. But energetically, what you're doing is you're feeding these astral creatures that basically, there's this huge, massive entity driving all these porn sites, driving all this porn stuff. It's a very dark force, but it's literally feeding off of people's sexual energy, and you get glued to it, and it becomes stronger and stronger the more you feed it. So basically, porn causes so many issues for guys. I do not recommend it. Okay, if you're new to this, is it better to stay away from your partner for a little while until you can control it? Well, I don't recommend necessarily staying away from your partner, but I do recommend that you practice on your own and kind of develop the skill on your own before trying to jump into bed with your partner with it. Just let your relationship with your partner be as it is, but on your own, you're training, you're developing your skills with these practices. It's easier to learn by yourself than with a partner. And you don't want to have like this sense of technique, when you're connecting with your partner, you want it to be effortless and fluid. So it's like you practice the practices, do the exercises, and then they become natural and spontaneous, and you can just integrate them in bedroom and dance with it. Do you know about massaging directly under the front of the penis head with 2 fingers for orgasms? Yeah, I mean, just a form of masturbation or whatever. Yeah, of penis massage. It's a very, it's the most sensitive spot of the penis, is that frenulum area underneath the head. What is the best position for female pleasure? It depends. It depends what your partner likes. Like if your partner likes deeper penetration, it really depends. In general, when she's on top, she has full control of movement, so that can be a great position for her to be in more control, like where the angle of the penetration, things like that. But it really depends. Just communicate with your partner and find out what they like, because there's different benefits to different positions. Does your course have live sessions? I'm in Australia and just worried the time difference might not always line up. So first of all, registration isn't open right now. I just closed registration recently. I have a group going through it right now. Have a really awesome group, had over 100 guys sign up, and they're having lots of amazing experiences, lots of breakthroughs, enrolling in week 1. So it's going really well. So in a few months, I'll open up course registration again. But basically, yes, we do have live sessions, and people are always all around the world, so it doesn't always line up with everyone's sessions. The live calls, or doesn't line up with everyone's schedules, but I record them and things like that. So can you have a full body orgasm without touching your penis? Yeah, it's certainly possible. It takes some deep internal skill to do for sure, but it's possible. How to move the semen up the spine into the brain to relieve anxiety and nourish the nervous system. So you're not actually moving the semen up the spine into the brain. It's kind of a misconception. There's no pathway, no physical mechanism in the body for the semen to move that way, but you're kind of extracting the essence of that semen. You're extracting the jing qi. So the jing is like physical essence, qi is subtle energy. You're basically extracting the essence of the semen when you're doing these practices and drawing that up the spine and into the brain. Check out my microcosmic orbit meditation. That's kind of the foundational practice to open up this pathway, and then you can use the testicle breathing practice to move the semen energy up there. How do you implement cold showers in your life? I take cold showers every day. I take one in the morning, and I take one at night before I go to bed. Is having sex with women who have multiple partners frequently, like prostitutes, does that affect you more than solo ejaculation? Well, just understand that whoever you're connecting with sexually, you're absorbing their energy. And so if you're having sex with someone who's having sex with a lot of other people, you're absorbing all the things that they're absorbing from other people. I'm not saying that it's bad or good or right or wrong. It's just, this is like what is happening. So be aware of this, So just know that you'll have a lot more kind of like karma and other people's energy to clean up if you're doing this. It's just, it may make more work for yourself. So it's really whatever you want. What is the dragon and tiger and other animals we have inside us? I'm not really sure what you mean. You're talking about like the Taoist system of like the animal organ spirits. There's like the dragon of the liver, the tiger of the lungs, the bear of the kidneys. What's the heart? The phoenix of the heart, and the spleen, I believe, is I forgot actually. I don't know. I don't work with those myself personally very much. Can edging lead to porn usage? It just depends on you and your willpower and like, how kind of addicted you are to porn. I teach methods of edging to learn to last longer in bed, learn to have full body orgasms, way to cultivate your own sexual energy. So again, it's about changing those sexual patterns and developing a deeper relationship with your body. So you don't need to like see this overstimulating sexual imagery to connect sexually with yourself or with others. How do you explain this to your partner? Any shocked reactions? I've been with several partners since I practiced semen retention. None of them were really shocked, or there was never any negative reaction to it. Some of them are like, okay, that's interesting, but just be honest. Just be like, hey, this is what I do. I mean, maybe don't tell them on the first date like, hi, nice to meet you. I don't ejaculate. I retain my semen. But for me, it was like with my current partners, like once we were getting intimate, it just seemed like an appropriate time to be like, hey, I practice semen retention. Don't worry, it doesn't mean that I'm not having pleasure. I'm having orgasms. I just choose not to ejaculate. So just, being straightforward with it. What do you think about celibacy? I think that, celibacy should only be done if it's natural for you. Like you can't force celibacy. You're not going to be balanced in that situation. This is the whole thing about suppressing sexual energy. It really doesn't work. It has if you're going to be celibate, then it has to arrive like naturally to where you just lose your desire to sexually connect with others because you have this internal, sexual alchemy happening. But if you're just like, like, okay, I'm going to be celibate, even though I still have this sex drive and this desire to connect, then again, it's like the whole thing of suppressing your sexual energy. It's like pushing a spring into a closet. As soon as you lose your grip on it, it's going to spring back out. I mean, look at the Catholic Church for an example of this. So be careful, basically. So for me, it's not about suppressing your sexual energy. It's about redirecting it. Which protein I use? I use a few different proteins. Usually I have a mix of pea protein, I think it's pea protein, quinoa, and cranberry protein, but generally I have like pea, organic, non-GMO pea protein is my favorite. Is it possible to remove sexual energy from semen so ejaculation doesn't drain you so much? And if so, is there a technique? Basically, yes, you can do this. This is what the sexual kung fu practice is about, is you're drawing up the energy from the semen and storing it in the body, circulating it with your partner and storing it in your body. And then if you do ejaculate after 20, 30 minutes or hours of doing that, you're losing significantly less energy. So I teach these practices in my 6-week course, and some of my other training videos on my website. Why is semen retention better than NoFap? Okay, so NoFap versus semen retention. I've talked about this a lot, but basically, I mean, it depends whose definition of these. Everyone has a different like lifestyle, what they call NoFap or what they call semen retention. But I'll give you my own kind of personal insight, what I choose to relate to these things. So NoFap's typically like, okay, I'm not masturbating anymore. I'm quitting porn. So they usually do like the 90-day thing where they go 90 days without masturbating, 90 days without looking at porn. But the thing with nofap is, again, there's no internal system of like redirecting that sexual energy. So again, this is when I'm saying that it's not a good idea to retain your semen without like a new pathway to express that energy. This is one of the problems men run into doing nofap or semen retention without internal skill. And then the other problem is that a lot of these guys go back into these old patterns when they hook up with a partner. They're like, okay, well, now we're gonna have sex. I'm just gonna ejaculate because it's okay during sex. And you're still losing energy during ejaculation, even if you're having sex. So the semen retention path, as my personal path, involves, there's no suppression of sexuality. There's no suppression of sexual expression. I'm very, very pleasure positive in my choice of semen retention path, meaning that, when I was learning these practices, I was self-cultivating. So I was, consciously masturbating, learning to last longer in bed, learning to have full body orgasms and cultivate this aroused sexual energy, because it's a very powerful force to work with. And learning to have sex without ejaculating and have full body orgasms. So this is really the sexual kung fu path of semen retention. So, for me, it's a very different path than just like, okay, no more masturbation, no more sexual expression, right? So that's just my experience. Your skin looks very smooth. What is your secret? Just cultivating my sexual energy, staying healthy, decent. I eat very clean. I stay hydrated. I get a lot of sun, healthy lifestyle. What is wet dreams properly explained? I had 3 wet dreams in a row. There's many causes to wet dreams. I have a whole YouTube playlist on wet dreams, but basically there's a few different causes. Number 1 is unfulfilled sexual desires. Like, again, this is the whole thing about suppressing your sexual energy. It's like, you can, in the day, your conscious mind's like, okay, I'm just not going to engage in sex, even though I have these desires. It's like, okay, I'll just kind of shove this over here. But then at night, your conscious mind's asleep and the body has all these desires. Your subconscious mind, like, hey, I really want to have an orgasm. So wet dream, So it's about developing this pattern of again, being able to redirect that energy so it's not being suppressed. Then you don't have all these unfulfilled desires that are seeking completion, so that you ejaculate as soon as you go to sleep. So that's the major cause. So that takes, it takes meditation, it takes practice, learning to redirect the sexual energy versus suppressing it. You can still have sex, you can still even masturbate if you want. The issue is you need to know how to redirect the sexual energy and not ejaculate. The other cause of wet dreams are if you're too hot at night, it causes wet dreams for whatever reason. Or if your bladder's really full, if you drink a lot of water, it can kind of push on the prostate and you have a wet dream. So there's many different causes, but watch my YouTube videos on that. What hour do you recommend to take light sun? So if you're getting sunlight, well, it depends. Like I go out in the sun in the middle of the day, high noon, and get sun because it depends on your skin type. It depends what you're doing in the sun. Like, are you sun gazing? Are you staring at the sun? Don't do that in the middle of the day if you're not. You need to develop that. So if you're sun gazing, which is where you're looking directly into the sun, it's only safe for most people 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes after sunrise and the last 30 minutes before sunset. So then you can stare directly at the sun. Start with like 20 seconds and build up from there. But as far as like sun exposure on your body, if you're light skinned, then, start with like the times of the day where the sun's lower, the UV is not as intense, but you can slowly build up your exposure and your ability to, be in the sun. Okay, what is the female equivalent to semen retention? The equivalent for females is blood retention. So men, we lose our sexual gene, our sexual energy through ejaculation. Women lose it through menstruation. They lose a lot of blood in their menstrual cycle. And for women, it's about, again, their sexual kung fu practice is about being able to, because the menstrual cycle for women, it's really a psychic cleansing, water's cleansing. And so it's like women tend to store a lot of emotions, negative emotions, traumas, things like that in their womb space, right? And it gets cleared in the period, but it takes a lot of gene for the body it takes a lot of energy for the body to move those things out. So if a woman has a practice where she's clearing these, negative emotions, these traumas, whatever, the stress, if she has a practice where she's clearing these things, then it's not going to be as taxing on her menstrual cycle. And women can actually, there's Taoist practices where women stop their periods completely. They call it slaying the red dragon. But I don't know how balanced that is. I'm a man, so I can't really speak too much. But there are things women can do to severely or to significantly reduce the amount of energy they lose through the menstrual cycle. No, having a vasectomy does not hinder sexual kung fu training. What vitamin do you recommend to take? It depends on your body. It depends on what your needs are and your whatever. But me personally, I take a B vitamin complex. Most people are B12 deficient. And the Japanese standard of B12 is like many, many times higher than what the American standard is. So I'm taking like 200,000 times the daily value of what the American values of vitamin B12 every day. So I take vitamin B12. I take vitamin D3 if I'm not getting sun. Right now I'm getting a lot of sun, so I don't need to take vitamin D3. Vitamin C. I take zinc, some other things, but yeah, those are the vitamins I take. I had an orgasm in my body and I was near the point of no return. Is that full body orgasm? I was breathing deeply. I mean, you should tell me, was it a full body orgasm? I don't know what it felt like for you. There's no specific point in the arousal scale where the full body orgasm occurs. It's going to be different for everyone. So, that's the thing with these internal orgasms. They're not as like sort of linear as the peak ejaculatory orgasm, so it's, you kind of have to be your own judge. Was it a full body orgasm? I've been suffering from premature ejaculation for years, and I don't know where to start to fix it or try to. Do you have any tips? So I talked about this earlier, but basically the most common cause of premature ejaculation is hypertension in the pelvic floor, meaning that when your penis is stimulated, you're contracting your pelvic floor in response, and that causes a quick ejaculation, hypersensitizes your penis. So doing reverse Kegels, using like a tennis ball to massage out your pelvic floor, being able to relax your pelvic floor during stimulation is one of the #1 remedies for premature ejaculation. So hopefully that helps you. I also have some videos on my YouTube channel of premature ejaculation. What are the benefits of Qigong? Many, 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 many benefits. It is an incredible, they call it a miracle exercise. In China, back in the 80s, they developed hospitals where all they did was teach patients Qigong. They did Qigong and they were curing chronic diseases. So Qigong, Qi is the life force, Gong is skill, right? Like Kung Fu, Gong Fu, it's skill developed over a period of time. So Qigong is the skill in cultivating life force, which is a term that was invented in, I think, like the 40s or 50s. It's a very recent term. It was originally called, what was it called? There was a name for it. I'm blanking right now. But anyways, Qigong opens up the energy channels of the body. Again, closed energy channels equals disease and death, aging. As we're experiencing life, as we experience traumas, negative emotions, our energy channels get blocked. So Qigong is a practice where it's basically what an acupuncturist does, but you do it for yourself. You open up the energy channels of the body. You keep your energy flowing and fluid. You're absorbing the energy of nature. So it's, it works on so many levels. And there's, the more superficial physical benefits. It clears the lymph. It gets the lymph system moving. Like a hard exercise, like aerobic exercise, doesn't move the lymph, but slow movements like Qigong and Tai Chi, they do move the lymph system, which is why it's good for people with chronic illnesses. Because it's like people with cancer, they don't die from the cancer, they die because their lymph system gets backed up from dealing with all that toxicity. So as long as your lymph system's moving, you'll be able to stay alive. And of course, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't make any medical claims and all that. But there's so many benefits on many levels. I quit porn, but I'm wondering what's the next step. I don't know. What's the next step? What are your goals? My favorite Qigong movement? My favorite Qigong is not a movement at all. It's standing meditation. So you just stand and you hold these postures. It's called Jianzhuan, which means standing like a pole. So you stand still and you form all these internal connections in your body. As you relax to the center of gravity, you release the muscular tension in the body, which inhibits the flow of energy. We're all moving with way too much tension, and it it literally constricts the life force in our body. So as you release these patterns of tension and you start to engage the connective tissue system of the body, the fascia tissue, which is like, it's basically like the physical mechanism that the chi, the subtle energy, is moving through. So you start to connect with this system of energy, and it's very, very powerful. Basically, you build a lot of energy through this practice. So that's why it's my favorite. How good is exercise for opening up body channels? Physical exercise isn't necessarily going to do that. Like it can help. It depends. I mean, there hasn't really been enough research on this stuff to really show. It's like Nikola Tesla said, when science starts to research the non-physical phenomenon, that's when they're going to make more progress in 1 decade than they have the entire history of science, right? So once people really start studying this stuff, we're going to see incredible things happen. But basically, most physical exercise doesn't really open your body, the energy channels of the body, because you're using tension. When you're lifting weights, you're tensing. Tension kills the flow of energy. Even like yoga practices, a lot of people are it's completely tension, physical based. So it's not going to open your energy channels the way that internal meditation or qigong or tai chi practices are going to do, basically. How long does it take to learn qigong? Well, it's kind of a lifetime. I've been studying for 6 years, and I still feel like I'm a beginner, but you'll be able to have a really solid practice like very quickly if you're studying with a good teacher. If you're interested in qigong, I have a playlist on my YouTube, but I highly recommend checking out my website. I have a training video called Qigong Mastery. I would say like 80 to 90% of Qigong and Tai Chi teachers, they don't understand how to actually connect with the internal energy. There's a big difference between slowly waving your arms around while you're like visualizing energy moving. There's a big difference between doing that and actually getting the energy movement. There's certain internal engagements that you need to learn to actually connect with the energy flow of the body. And once you do, once I started studying with some Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua teachers, these internal martial arts, I understood the principles of basically how to engage your internal energy. It was a game changer for my practice, because now when I do Qigong, it feels like, when the energy is flowing, you feel it. It's very, very tangible. It's very powerful. Like when I do Qigong, when I'm doing Tai Chi, it feels like this liquid lightning, like just blasting through my body. It feels incredible. So anyways, a little tangent on Qigong. Yes, I do have an Instagram, Sexual Kung Fu. So I'm live on Instagram and YouTube right now. Does doing Qigong in nature give more benefit than doing it out indoors? It depends. In general, it is good to do it outside if you can, because you get the fresh chi of nature. Your feet are on the earth. It can be better outdoors, but only if the weather's nice. Like you don't want to do Qigong out when it's like windy and like raining. You're going to deplete your energy actually. So don't worry too much about where you're doing it. If you're doing the practice, you're going to get great results. All right, guys, I'm going to answer a couple more questions and I have to jump off of here. How to boost testosterone and what can I eat? Semen retention is a great way to boost testosterone for men. In general, sleep, getting enough sleep, healthy diet, exercise, getting some physical exercise and some energetic exercise, some Qigong meditation is going to help your hormonal production. I think the biggest thing is like releasing stress from your life. When your cortisol level is high, when you're living in fight or flight mode, when you're stressed out, your testosterone is going to be low. So being able to remove stress from your life, having a clean diet, specific foods and things for gene building foods, testosterone, obviously meat and things like that it's gene rich. Only like high quality grass fed, pasture raised meats. If you're doing animal products, you don't have to do animal products to get high testosterone. But maca root, tongkat ali is a great herb for boosting testosterone. Things like that. Pumpkin seeds, zinc. You need plenty of zinc. Is it normal to feel like your dantian is on fire after doing deep earth pulsing? Just means your dantian's activated. That's how my dantian feels when when I'm meditating, when I'm doing qigong. It's like a cooking stove. It's an incredible feeling. So yeah, it's good. It just means you build your dantian. What do you think about Falun Gong? I don't have too many thoughts about it. I mean, it's a spiritual system. I think it's fine. I don't have any thoughts about it. It's not my path. It's not my personal path, but it's fine. Everyone has their spiritual beliefs. They've been persecuted pretty hardcore in China. Like they're getting their organs harvested and things like that for being Falun Gong practitioners. It's some crazy stuff happening over there. If a guy has been practicing semen retention for a long time, 12 months or so, then is it okay for him to ejaculate at least once in that time? Definitely. It's not a huge issue to have an ejaculation here and there. A lot of the Taoist classics talk about a man, if you want to ejaculate, a man can ejaculate once or twice a month without any significant loss of energy, unless you're like, really depleted, having health issues or something. But, an ejaculation here and there is not going to kill you. Qigong means qi is life force, gong is skill, like kung fu, a skill developed over a period of time through training. So Qigong is the skill in cultivating life force. Is there anything else as effective as maca root for sexual energy increasing? Goji berries, black sesame seeds. What else? Those are the big ones for me. Pine pollen. Pine pollen is really awesome. Okay. The summer is better than winter. You have more sexual energy. Yeah. Spring and summer are much more abundant in sexual energy. The earth is like coming to life, everything's growing. Sexual energy is very abundant in spring and summer. If you want to ejaculate, you can more in the spring and summer without it's not as big of a deal versus the fall, and especially the winter. You really want to avoid ejaculating in the winter because it's easy to deplete yourself. Basically, all the energy is kind of sinking. It's the season of the kidneys. What books am I reading? Right now I'm reading, it's called White Moon on a Mountain Peak by Damo Mitchell. It's a book on Nadon, Taoist Eternal Alchemy. Really great book. Also reading a book called Energy, Vitality, Spirit. It's a Taoist source book. It's a translation of different Taoist alchemical texts. Really good. Also reading The Keys of Enoch, which is a pretty out there metaphysical book. What else have I been reading? The Law of One by the Raw Channelings, Law of One. Another pretty out there one, but I love the metaphysical stuff. No, I've never been to China. All right, guys, thank you for joining me. I'm going to jump off. Have a great day. And okay, last question. Do you think it would have been better if you learned sexual kung fu as a teenager? Oh, yes. Yes, it would have saved me years of sexual frustration, poor performance, very imbalanced relationships. But I have no regrets. I was fortunate enough to find it in my early 20s, so it's all good. And I was able to, now I'm able to help men who've been through the same things I've been through without them having to go through everything I went through. So yes, semen retention makes you more attractive. I've made many videos on this. All right, guys, I will see you next week, same time. Have a good day.